Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Lizzie. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 4 in a small town in Vermont. My husband's a pastor, and so there's lots of things that we talk about on here, kind of a whole array of biblical motherhood and encouragement, and also gardening, which that's what I'm heavy on, is the gardening. I've started my 2026 garden year already down in my basement with my seed starting. But today I kind of want to transition a little bit from gardening to homesteading and talk about chickens for a little bit, because chick days are very soon upon us. They may be coming really soon for you if you're in a southern area. And whether you get your chicks from Tractor Supply or Rural King or somewhere online, it's coming. So I wanted to discuss with you different times of the year that you can get chicks. I've had them multiple different times during the spring and the summer, and maybe that can help you determine when the best time to get your chicks are. And I also thought it would be fun to go over what my chick order is this year when they're going to be coming in the mail. So let's get started. So if you want to know more about starting out with chickens, the basics that you need to know, like a coop and different breeds, what you need, how to take care of them, those kinds of things, I will link a video down below that you can go back and watch that I did last year. It's really important for me to mention that I have no prior experience to having chickens before 2023. And I think that is important for you to understand, because I have figured everything out myself for the most part. I've researched everything, and everything I have gotten to this point is basically trial and error. And so if you feel like you can't do it, you can do it. I promise you, it's not as overwhelming as maybe it seems like it is. But I tried to give you some really helpful information in that other video, because when I was researching starting out with chickens, I felt like I found a lot of videos from people who had a lot of experience, and because they were so used to it, or they grew up that way or whatever, they would kind of like not add important aspects in that they really should have talked about, where someone like me watching it didn't know to get X, Y, and Z, because I had never done it before. So it's kind of like they weren't basic enough. So I tried to make it really simple, really basic video. So you can go back and watch that. But I am going into my 4th year of having chickens, and this is the 4th or 5th batch of chicks I've had. I can't think on the top of my head which one it is. But so I haven't had a ton, but again, a lot of trial and error. So my first batch of chickens I got was in the first week of May that I ever got. So for Vermont, when you think about May, depending on where you live, you may be thinking about like 70 to 75 degree weather. Here in Vermont, our last frost date isn't until the middle of May. So we're still in like early spring. I can maybe get some warm days in April to kind of clean out my garden beds, and then there's some like tulips and daffodils popping up, but that's about it by the time that May comes. No, really not even tulips yet, actually, just daffodils for the most part. So it is still chilly here, and that's important to keep in mind as I talk about the chicks, because chicks need really warm temperatures to stay alive and to stay healthy. So my first batch that I got, I only got 7 of them. I had researched a ton of what kind of breeds that I want. I went to Tractor Supply, and they ended up having 3 of the breeds that I wanted. And if you're familiar with Tractor Supply, you can't control like what breeds they have. So it's kind of get what you get when it's there. And so it worked out really well. I got 7 of them. I just put them in a really big tote and put them down in my basement. And that worked fine for what it was. I am at a point now where I cannot put the amount of chicks that I'm purchasing at one time down in my basement. I just don't have the room. and it would just be a pain to have to get them out of the basement to harden them off and those kinds of things. So at this point, I am keeping them down in the front of our sugar house. There's a little section in the front that I put some like farm stuff in, and my husband uses the rest of it as his shop. And I'm keeping the chicks down there, and that has worked very well. But because of that, I really cannot get chicks before the end of April because it would just be much too cold. It's an unheated sugar house. He does have some type of heater in there, but is expensive to run. So that would not be something I would want running all the time. And of course the chicks have heat lamps, but that within itself is not enough to keep them warm when it is 10 degrees outside. So I really have to wait until the end of the end of April-ish to be able to put my chicks down in the sugar house. So doing it in spring, there's some negatives and some positives for me, and probably for you too. It's a little bit more in the spring inconvenient at the chick stage because they do require so much more heat. So again, maybe for you, if you're in Florida, this doesn't necessarily pertain to you, but for me, I need to keep a lot better eye on them and check on them a lot more. I need to make sure that they have their heat lamps for the right amount of time. I have to make sure to harden them off by putting them outside, putting them back inside. And it just kind of is a process. It is kind of a thing to have to do all that. But the positive part of getting them in the spring is that you will have eggs before winter comes. Most chickens lay between 16 to 20 weeks. So you're looking at the latest, the end of September, or even earlier, depending on when you get them in the spring, to be able to get eggs, which is really nice. They'll stop laying in the winter, obviously, when it's time for them to stop, and then they'll start back up again. It's just kind of nice to have it before the winter comes, because if you go through all of winter without them laying yet, you're kind of like, did I waste my money? And like, you didn't, because they're gonna lay in the spring. Like it's 6 one way and half a dozen the other. It doesn't really matter, but it is nice to be able to get those eggs, just a few months after you got them. So if you are gonna get them in the very early spring, make sure you have a location that is going to be heated. It doesn't have to be super, super hot because you're gonna have your heat lamps. But it does need to be a pretty steady temperature, not going, super below freezing. And then like me, I'm going to be doing it at the end of April, which is for us, is kind of like the middle of spring, basically. We will have some cold temperatures. We will get below freezing at the end of April, but I will probably go put some heat out there. Maybe turn that on, or just a little heat. What am I trying to say? Not heat machine, but you know what I mean. A heat thing you plug in and it has heat just right next to them, just at night. And then during the day, they'll be totally fine. So there's spring. Now, the first time I got a batch in summer was last year, and I loved it. I got it at the end of July, and I loved having the chicks at that time of year. Again, they were down in the sugar house, and that's where they stayed, but I only had to use the heat lamps for maybe 3 weeks, because then it was warm enough outside to just open the sugar house doors up and let some fresh air in. You didn't really have to harden them off at all. They were just ready to go outside. So I put them into the coop. I started putting them into like a protected area in the coop for the chickens to get used to them. They were only 6 weeks old, I think. And then they were fully in the coop by the time they were 8 weeks old, which it was such a smooth transition. It was so easy. And in the summer, I'm outside all day long. So it wasn't a thing I really had to work on to go down and check on them. I was just always close to there. And because it was so warm outside, it was so easy to just let them in and out. My garden was established, so I could let my chickens out and they wouldn't really bother the chicks very much, which was a really nice and easy transition. I normally don't let my chickens free range when my garden is starting because I don't want them to go scratch everything up. So from like mid-April to like, well, maybe late April till like June, I don't let them out. I just have them in their run. And so it makes for a little bit of a tighter space to introduce chicks in there. So obviously the negative to this of having them getting them during the summer is that you're not going to get eggs before winter. And that part has been hard. I'm having to wait for those eggs until spring, and you kind of wonder if you've wasted your time. You're like, oh, I'm giving them all this food and they're not giving me anything. Obviously you haven't, but you kind of feel that way. But spring will be very nice when I get all those extra, when I start getting all those extra eggs. That will be very, very good. So this year I am getting them at the end of April. So we're talking about some extra work and some extra heat and having a 4-month-old on top of all that. We'll be okay. We're gonna make it work. It was the best time for me to be able to do it because we're going away several different weeks between the spring and the summer, and I don't really want anybody to have to come over just to take care of them. So it would be better if they were in the flock and just living their lives with the other chickens. So that's what I'm doing this year. Hopefully that information is helpful as you're thinking about getting chicks either from your local store or even ordering online. I'm sure there's plenty of places that have chicks available still online. And speaking of that, let me share with you what chicks I am getting this spring. I am ordering from Murray McMurray. The experiences that I have had with Tractor Supply have been great. There are some people that say negative things about chicks at Tractor Supply, but I have never had a problem with getting them from Tractor Supply. It's just that the breeds are limited at different times. And so if I want specific breeds, which I'm getting to the point where I now do, I have to order them online. I have really liked Murray McMurray. Their chicks have been very hardy. I think that's a good word. It's very hardy and very healthy. I really haven't had any die. Let me think. I had one die, which is very normal. And I had another one die, but it was totally my fault. It wasn't their fault. So anyways, this coming April, I am going to be getting, let's see, 8, 12, 15. I have ordered 15 birds, and that seems like not enough to me. Oh, I know what I forgot. That's okay. Because I was gonna say, I thought I had more than that. I know what I forgot now. So the first one that I have is I'm getting 4 Whiting True Blue birds. So these are birds that lay blue eggs. They are come in an array of different colors. I got these in my last batch, and I had a very unfortunate situation last year with my chicks. Like I already said, I had a couple of them die, but then as I was transitioning them into the coop, I keep taking them in and out, so on and so forth. Basically, what we're pretty positive was a weasel came in and attacked just them, not the other ones, and killed 7 of them in one night. And 2 or 3 of them were just laying on the ground in the coop with their heads off. That's why we think it was a weasel, because a lot of times weasels will actually not kill to eat the animals. They just like rip their heads off. I don't know, for fun, I guess. I'm not really sure. So that was very unfortunate. And the Whiting Blue is, I lost all of them, unfortunately. And there was one that was really pretty. It was a black and white. It was just really gorgeous. So hopefully I will get some pretty ones again. I'm sure that it will. So, and then I'm also getting the Whiting True Green. Now these lay green eggs, and they are all like a light brown color. And so this is what's in the chicken world is called chasing the rainbow. When I line up my eggs in my egg cartons, I want them to be all kinds of different colors in there. So that's what I'm trying to get to. So that will help with that. I also have, I believe, 6. See, I didn't write it down, but I think it's 6 Leghorns coming. I love Leghorns. They're your typical small white chicken that has the red crown at the top. And the thing I love about them the most is that they are so consistent with their eggs. They lay white eggs, and just every single day, you know you're gonna have however many Leghorns you have in there is how many white eggs you're gonna have. They're so consistent, even in the cold. It's gotten really, really, really cold here in the negatives for multiple weeks at a time. So they have not laid this winter, but last year when we had a mild winter and didn't really have a whole lot of negative temperatures, they laid every day still. So I definitely, those are my tried and true, I can always count on them kind of birds. I'm getting 6 Buff Orpingtons. I have never gotten Buff Orpingtons before, but I heard that they are the best breed ever, that they are super sweet and kind, that they're really good egg producers. So I'm looking forward to checking out that breed. I like learning about new breeds and trying them out and seeing if I like them. And then I'm getting 3 Black Australorps. I'm a little nervous about this one. I have had Australorps in 2 different batches of chicks, 2 or 3. The first batch I got, I had 2 Australorps. One of them died as a chick, which is normal. Then the other one grew up, and like a year later, it got sick with I don't know what and just died. Then the most recent batch I had had some Australorps in it. One of them I killed by accident. I sure did. And then the other one died in that weasel massacre. And so I have lost every single one of my Australorps every single time I've gotten one. So I was kind of like, you know, I really don't know if I should get Australorps again, because apparently like I have bad luck with them. But I just love their eggs. They're so pretty. They're like they're technically brown, but a lot of times because of the coating on the outside, they will look pink. And sometimes, and I have gotten these, sometimes they will even look purple. And so they're just really cool eggs. And so when I'm trying to go for the blue and the green, I might as well add the Australorps in there and get that pinkish color as well. We'll see if these ones survive. Hopefully they will. And then because I ordered, I think you have to order 15 of them. If you order 15 of them, you get a surprise chick. And I ordered 15 of them the last time I ordered from Murray McMurray. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want a surprise check. I'm really nervous about it. But this time I said, no, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Most of the time, it says right online when you order, most of the time they are male chickens. They end up being roosters, which I'm a little bit leery of. I'm a little bit nervous about the roosters. I don't want it to be mean or aggressive. I don't want to have feathers missing all over my chickens' backs all the time. I'm not particularly interested in hatching eggs, but I'm also like not against it either. And I would probably, if I were going to hatch eggs, I would probably use them just as meat birds. I wouldn't raise them for eggs to put in egg cartons. But sometimes people will actually not buy fresh eggs from you if you have a rooster, because they get nervous about it, that there's a chicken there, which is not, there's not, if you go and check your eggs every day. But anyway, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe it won't end up being a rooster, or maybe it'll just be the nicest rooster there's ever been, and I will want to keep him. So we'll see how that goes. But I will keep you updated on that when I get them in April. That will be fun. Thank you for watching today's video and chatting about chickens with me. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments down below, and I will try to respond to those. We are getting pretty heavy on the seed starting soon, and so I will give you a seed starting update within the next week or two of how all my seedlings are doing. And my husband's got to get my greenhouse, some panels put back on my greenhouse so we can get some stuff rolling in there. And the last couple of days have been very sunny days, extremely cold. It is it's 14 degrees outside right now, but this morning it was -7. So very, very cold, but the sun and the fact that these days are stretching out, like I can tell they're stretching out, like we're eating dinner and like it's still light outside. Spring is coming. And talking about chicks and flowers, oh, it's just such a great reminder. It's such a breath of fresh air. Speaking of fresh air, I'm actually going to go open a couple of my doors to get some fresh air, even though it's cold, get some fresh air in my house and try to get some of the winter ickies out. But thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.